MLS Cup Playoffs 2020 edition, getting started in just a couple of days. Thank you for joining us at Sons of a Pitch Soccer Podcast for our 2020 MLS Cup Playoff Preview episode. We are going to talk everything MLS Cup Playoffs, from the play-in games starting Friday night all the way through our predictions for MLS Cup Final and who the champion is going to be. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below if you are a fan of soccer, American soccer, CONCACAF, whatever. Jump on and get in our 1,000 YouTube subscriber challenge. When we reach 1,000 subscribers, one random subscriber will be drawn to win a $250 Visa gift card. It's that easy. Get in on it, ladies and gentlemen, and help us grow our business so we can make some money, and we will share that money with you guys. So with that being said, we've got lots to talk about. We've got different 538 projection odds to go through. We're going to go through each game. We did a picks and predictions yesterday night that kind of gives you my rundown of all of the betting odds, et cetera, and my picks. And we've got Nick jumping on here. He just decided to go buy a car tonight, so that's why we kept pushing everything back. And now he is having some technical difficulties. So, Nick, when you are ready, man, give me the thumbs up, and we will bring you in. And, oh, look at that. He is ready to go. Nick, how you doing tonight, man?
What's going on, Mike? Yes, I did buy a new car, and it took a lot longer than I thought it would, and I upgraded all my software on my computer, and it reset all my settings. So I have to go back and figure out how to get the green screen override going again. But you know what, Mike? That's not why we're here. We're here to talk playoff soccer, and I'm excited. Yes, I'm pumped. We had some international stuff today, and I am just so psyched to get into the MLS bracket here. Heidhager's already jumped on. She's excited to go. Like, everyone's here ready to talk MLS soccer playoffs, Mike.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. First thing I want to touch on is the 538 MLS Cup odds. I don't know how much stock I put in these odds because they seem to always be wrong, at least in the past few years. But they've got the Philadelphia Union, obviously, Supporters Shield champions. They're going to be at home throughout the entire tournament. They are the favorites at 25%. Second place comes in with New York City FC at 12%, which is surprising. Toronto FC is the second best team in MLS by point total, and they are all the way down at sixth place with only a 6% chance. The Sounders come in third, Sporting Kansas City fourth, and LAFC in fifth. 8% chance for LAFC. So either way, the number 3 and the number 5 team, one of them is getting knocked off in the first round. The last game of the first round is going to be Seattle hosting LAFC. Montreal Impact, less than 1% chance. Same with San Jose Earthquakes, Nashville SC, and then Inter Miami actually has a 1% chance, not a less than 1% chance. So go check out those rankings if you want to waste your time on that. Go for it. But that's their rundown there. Now, one of the things that's kind of going to come into play here is these COVID protocols and the international break that we just are wrapping up now, right? We've got a lot of MLS players that are overseas. The U.S. men's national team didn't take any players with them from MLS. It's everybody who's based over in Europe. So because of the playoffs, and it's their home league and all that. Now, I see you raising your hand. I see these notes here, Rick. You're wrong.
They got legit. They took legit.
Oh, they took legit.
But,
okay.
I'll give you
the
Galaxy who didn't.
He's not in the playoffs, Nick. You're missing that.
Yes. Well, I just making sure, we can't have.
Okay, because I see your notes here, and you got Reggie Cannon, and I'm like, wait a minute, he doesn't play in MLS anymore.
Well, that's right. He moved over from Boa Vista. The MLS was including him in their home team guys coming over, whatever. So that's why I put Cannon up first to show that yes, the MLS website is still considering him part of Dallas, at least for the time being. He helped them make their playoff run, but yeah, he completed his transfer over to Boa Vista and played all right today against Panama in today's friendly.
Yep, he played well, and if you guys didn't get a chance to go back and check out my live stream reaction that I did between USA and Panama this afternoon, it was a really good time, picked up lots of subscribers, and had some awesome conversations during that game, and a great performance by USMNT, and we'll talk more about that on our regular episode 157, right after we get done here with our MLS Cup preview. So some of the players here, right off the bat, you've got Nick Ladero and Arriaga out for Seattle. Most likely. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it back. They shortened the COVID protocols down to like 4 days of quarantining or something. What's the point? Okay. If you're supposed to be quarantining for, I don't know, 7 days or 14 days or whatever, why even change it? That makes no sense to me. Why are we even doing it at all? But that's not for me nor you to discuss. But either way, Ladero and Arriaga might be out. And then on LAFC's side, they got Diego Rossi, Palacios, and Cifuentes. So 3 strong players for them as well. So it might be missing a lot of players in that first round game between Seattle and LAFC, which might be the game of the first round. Hey, Ryan Anderson has jumped on. He's on Twitter. What up, y'all? Hey, Ryan, thanks for jumping on, man. And as well, we got 4 Minnesota United starters who actually did really well. You had Robin Lode, Lode. I don't know why they say his name, but he scored a goal as well. Jan Gregus for Slovakia and a couple other players. Then you've got Montreal's player Victor Wanyama, who they brought over from Spurs midseason, who's played okay since he's come over, helped that midfield stabilize a little bit. He's part of the Kenyan national team. Vaco and Kasia for San Jose, Mendez for Orlando, Kaku for the Red Bulls of New York, Montero for Philly, who is their big-time DP signing. Remember that he's their number 1 signing there. So, and I'm sure there's some others that we're probably missing. What are your takes on this? Is this really going to affect the play of these first-round matchups where we could see a team lose because they're missing some players?
You know what? It's going to affect play, and it's going to maybe prop up some of the other teams like a TFC who isn't losing everyone, or like a Philly who is a top squad and just has 1 player out, or we're looking at Portland who – I maybe we missed a couple guys on Portland who may have gone on international duty, but a team who's built on such depth. So it could really factor into some of these first round games here and cause some possible upsets. But no one's going to feel it more than Minnesota. And we're going to talk about that when we get into the matchup against Minnesota. But yeah, this is going to test depth. And for me, that is where MLS has to take the next step. You can put your starting 11 out and be competitive with any squad in CONCACAF. But once you get from 12 to the end of the roster, 12 to 23, maybe 12 to 18, 19, and then always, a couple young development guys or whoever. That's where the MLS has to look to the future and see how can we bulk up the talent on the depth. And we talk about it when they want to make runs in Champions League. They need depth if they're going to be competitive in the league and then in Champions League. That's where I think it's going to take effect. Also, you look at a team like San Jose, Vaco and Kasia, you got 2 starters who are going to be out for them. Like they need that. They need to be part of San Jose's man marking scheme. They work well with the offense right now. Like those guys can have a big impact on San Jose being absent for them. So definitely it's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if it's going to change any of the results considering it's impacting a lot of teams, but it's something to keep an eye on. Absolutely, Mike.
All right, so before we get started on discussing the first round of games and these play-in games, everybody who's watching, jump in to our bracket challenge on MLSsoccer.com. Our league is titled SOP Soccer. Go search for that. Join our league. It's free to enter. All you need is an MLS Soccer account. And first place is going to win some limited edition champion swag. So one of a kind, only made for the champion. That is it. I'll actually have to order it and send, get your address and send it to you because I can actually make any changes I want to the stuff. So I'm going to do that and make this awesome. We're going to make it probably a little bit bigger. I just got to get the resizing the image and all that kind of stuff. But either way, Sons of a Pitch Soccer Bracket Challenge champion. I believe we have about like 17 or 20 people in there right now.
It's over 20 now, Mike. We're like 25-ish or so.
Nice. All right, cool. So then my goal is to get to 50. Let's get to 50 entrants here, and that way you'd be a real champion over 50 other players. We'll show our brackets at the end of the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We will show you our picks straight through all the way through the championship. Now let's talk a little bit about these games. Nashville and Miami, 2 expansion teams. This is did anybody see this coming? Nashville and Miami playing in the first round of the playoffs against each other. I didn't see it coming. That's for sure. We will be live doing a live stream reaction Friday night. So jump on and hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so that you don't miss when we go live. We'll be doing a live stream reaction. Get in on the conversation with us. We love talking soccer with you guys, and nothing better than having the game on TV and talking some soccer on YouTube. Nashville, Miami, man, who do you got?
My pick, Nashville. The way I look at this game, if you look at the teams, Nashville 8 wins and 7 losses on the season. Miami 7 wins, 13 losses on the season. Both teams comparable goals for 24 and 25, but Nashville only allowed 22 goals. Miami, on the other hand, 35 goals allowed. Terrible, terrible goal differential. If you look at head-to-head, Nashville has a win and a draw. So they have a slight advantage there on the head-to-head. But the way I'm looking at it, it comes down to 2 things for me with these 2 teams. For Nashville, you got to do it on defense. They've got the 3rd best goals allowed in the league behind Philadelphia and Colorado of all teams, probably because they play the least amount of games. And as far as like expected goals based on opposing opportunities to score, they should have given up 25.5 goals this season. They actually only allowed 22. So their defense is playing better than expected. Also, their top 5 minutes leaders this season are all in the back line. Romney, Zimmerman, Lovitz, 3 defenders. Willis, their goalkeeper, no shocker there. And Dex McCarty, defensive midfielder. Those are your top 5 guys in minutes for Nashville. So I expect their defense to play really well. And if they can do it on defense, if they can shut down the star power of Miami, I think Nashville's got the win. And it's star power that'll carry Miami. You've got Lewis Morgan, Rodolfo Pizarro. The 2 of them have 9 goals and 9 assists. By the way, who's the 3rd leading goal scorer on that Miami team, Mike? Breck Shea with 4 goals. Breck Shea, former next big thing in American soccer, Breck Shea. You take those 3 guys out of it, the rest of the team only has 11 goals and 9 assists. So Higuain obviously came into the league very late in the season. Right. So if Higuain, Morgan, and Pizarro and Breck Shea off the bench, maybe, or if he gets a start, if those 3 or 4 guys are controlling the game, are harassing the Nashville defense, I'll give it to Miami. But I really think Nashville's defense carries the day, and I see Nashville moving on. That's me.
All right, so Heithager, she's got money on Nashville, so we will see on that one. Good luck there. And, hey, Rocky Does It All has joined us. Let's go, Mike.
Hey,
thanks for jumping on, Rocky. And as Ryan Anderson says, Nashville has the perfect system to beat Miami, better defensive team. That's where it lays for me. That's exactly – and the home field advantage. They've played extremely well at Nissan Stadium, I think it is, Titan Stadium, before they move into their soccer-specific stadium in a year or 2 at the fairgrounds. But Nashville plays good defense. So that's that for me. I think they'll be able to shut Miami down, especially with a possible Rodolfo Pizarro not in the game due to him being on international duty with Mexico. He is a big part of that offense. Without him, that team does not function the same way. So I'm going Nashville as well. That is my pick to take it, and Nick's as well. So it's a sweep there for us. The second play-in game, we've got the New England Revolution hosting the Montreal Impact. This one, I mean, I'm all out on Montreal. I can't believe this team is in the playoffs. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Their record, I mean, barely at 500, barely a positive, actually a negative goal differential by 10. 43 goals against. The defense is non-existent. Thierry Henry, I think he's a bad coach. Maybe it's an unpopular take for me because of his name and for all the things he did in MLS with the Red Bulls. I don't think he's that good of a coach. I don't know. I don't know how this team made the playoffs, but New England is a decent team. They have started to get their pieces back. They lost at Philly right after decision day or on decision day. So I don't know. It should be interesting to see how this game plays out. It's going to be a fairly even matchup, but my pick in this one is New England. I think at Gillette Stadium, just too hard to beat. And Montreal, I have no faith in them whatsoever. Maybe it's because I'm a TFC fan. Maybe it's because I'm just a realist. I don't know. Nick, what are your thoughts on New England and Montreal?
You know, Mike, I'm with you. I'm picking New England on this one. They have had the better season. I think they are eager to win a playoff game. They wanted a better finish this season, that's for sure. They didn't expect to be in this play-in game. Then again, I don't think anybody did because of the way the season played out. But I don't think New England wanted to be in this playing game. They wanted to be a top 6 team. They wanted to be top 4, maybe, especially given how they finished last season and what they were able to do with Bruce Arena taking over the helm. It didn't exactly work out for him on the pitch. Obviously, with the coronavirus season, it threw everyone's game plan off. Gustavo Bou and Carlos Gil may not be 100% due to injury, but to me, for New England, how are their supporting cast members going to play this game? Is Fagundes, Mane, Rowe, Wynn? I mean, Lee Wynn coming back, like maybe getting a little bit of a hometown, old school kind of bump in energy with him. If Taj Buchanan, if those guys all have good games, then I still think New England has enough to carry themselves over Montreal. Now, the crazy thing is Montreal might be catching New England at the perfect time. So I'm not going to put it outside the realm of possibilities that Montreal does not win this game. But Ryan Anderson says, Piet's out because of a red card. No way Montreal beats the Revs. Yeah, Piet has really been a motor for Montreal in the midfield there.
And then you pair that with Wanyama just coming off international break with Kenya. That's their D mid right there. If that's gone, Safir Taider's gone. Who do they have left in their midfield? I know they got a couple guys, Lapalainen, I think he's hurt. But I mean, they've still got enough players to hold it down in midfield, but I don't think they'll be able to work with the Reds.
Sure. And then, of course, there's the other topic. I know one of your favorite players to hate, Boyan. Is he for real? Is he overhyped?
How long are we going to keep asking that question? The answer is clear, Nick.
Look,
it's been clear for about 6 months.
Okay, fine. But the thing is, he needs the ball. He needs to be on the ball. He needs to be getting touches. He needs to be involved in the play. He needs to take 4 or 5 shots a game to get that goal. So if somehow Montreal's like, look, everybody sucks and no one's available, just give Boyan the ball, maybe he produces. But you're right. He's certainly projecting to be overhyped at the very least. I know where you already fall on him. So that's kind of my take on it. Again, I'm still going with New England. I still think New England's the better team in all aspects of this game, if only slightly.
All right. So next up, the first game that we have outside of the play-in games is a Saturday morning slot, New York City and Orlando City. This one's going to be a hell of a game. Daniel Young says that that New York City is going to be a tough out, and I agree with him on that. We'll show our brackets here shortly, but NYC is looking good, man. They're hot. They've won 4 straight games. Orlando has had the best season ever in their history. For them, they're playing okay. They're not. I wouldn't say they're on a roll, but they're not. They're not on trash either. So I think they're playing okay. This one's going to be good because it's in Orlando. If it was in New York City, I'd say hands down New York City. But being that it's in Orlando, I think that that will make this game a hell of a game. I'm just kind of annoyed that this game's going to come on at 11 Central Standard Time, and it's only on Unimas. That's annoying to me.
Yeah, that's going to be tough because I really think this is the best game of the Eastern Conference first round. We've got 2 teams who are playing very well, who are having really good seasons, who seem to be evenly matched for the most part. A full-strength Orlando squad and a full-strength New York City squad would just be a fantastic matchup. Kind of makes me wish they were doing a home-and-home so we could see them match up a second time here. But right. For me, for Orlando, are they satisfied making the playoffs? Probably not. They're going to come out. They're going to try to win this game. It's their first MLS playoff game. Is that going to be nerves? Is there going to be a coaching kind of overthinking of things? Like, is Nani comfortable playing in a playoff game? All these type of things are kind of there, and maybe more little distractions than actual on-the-field performance. We know how good Orlando can be. And you said, Mike, home field advantage. They've only had 1 loss in their 10 home games this season. So definitely home field for Orlando. Meanwhile, looking at New York City, they have Alex Callens, one of their center backs, or Callens. He was called up to Peru for international duty. He is most likely out. So for me, is New York and Maxi Morales especially going to be able to maintain possession, control the midfield, and is New York City's attacking depth going to keep scoring goals? I think they do. The one other debate that I've been reading a lot about is, do New York start Tajuri Shradi again? He's back from injury. Do they put him back in the starting lineup, or do they roll with the guys who've been scoring goals to this point? The popular opinion seems to be you play the hot hand, bring Strati off the bench. But for me, Mike, I'm going New York City in this one. And I know Daniel Young and other New York City fans are going to like looking at my bracket. But I think New York City wins in a high-scoring affair. That's what I believe is going to happen. Just look what they did against Chicago last week. 4 goals.
Yeah, 4-3. But Chicago is a lot different of a team than Orlando. However, I am going with New York City as well to pull this somewhat called of an upset off. I think it benefits them to be on the road. I've been saying it for years that New York City, they have a hard time winning in the playoffs because they're on that Yankee Stadium pitch and the smaller pitch. And then when they went to Citi Field last year, they made the field the same size to, for their benefit, but it's not a benefit. I think this that hurts this team in a one-off play-in game, playoff game. So for me, I'm going New York City. They're too hot. They're on a roll with four straight wins, and that experience that Orlando does not have is going to be the difference there. So that is what I'm going with on that one. Next up, we've got Columbus and the New York Red Bulls on November 21st at 2 p.m. Central. Another midday Saturday game, Columbus at MAPFRE Stadium. Against a Red Bulls team coming off a good victory over Toronto FC on decision day. High press Red Bulls against a full-strength Columbus Crew team. What do you see in this game, Nick? I mean, how do you see this one playing out? I mean, Columbus was an early Shield favorite, and now they've kind of they started to suffer a little bit in the middle of the season with some injuries and whatnot. Now they seem to be regaining back to full strength. How do you think this one plays out?
Sure. In their only head-to-head matchup, the Crew got the win, and I think they're going to get the win in this one. I'm definitely picking Columbus. We know what Caleb Porter's system can do. The Crew are a complete team, and it's funny, in thinking about this matchup, I'm like, okay, who is the best or the most important player on the Columbus Crew? You can make an argument for a number of players. Was it Zardes? Was it Zelarayan, who was voted newcomer of the year, by the way? Zardes, who was in the Golden Boot race up until the last couple of weeks. Pedro Santos, Darlington Nagbe. Everyone seems to be very high on him. MLS Twitter loves Darlington Nagbe. Or is it Artur, a guy who can bring a little physicality along with some offensive punch? Like, Columbus has all these guys who can arguably be their best player, which just makes them that much of a complete team. So I really think Columbus is going to be able to outplay and outperform, to pass around and pass through and overload and find key matchups in order to beat the Red Bulls kind of high press. For the Red Bulls, they just got to hold it and keep the Crew from creating a lot of opportunity, offensive opportunity. And it's funny. I looked at the Red Bulls record. Like, I kind of looked back and kind of thought, the season as a whole, how are we looking back as we get ready for the playoffs? The Red Bulls are a 500 team, Mike. Like, go figure, right? 9 wins, 9 losses, 5 draws, right about where they should be, despite the coaching changes, despite Aaron Long's rumors of, is he going to Europe? Isn't he going to Europe? Like, who else are they going to get? All this stuff. The Red Bulls somehow still finished 500, right in the middle of the playoff pack, and I just think Columbus is head and shoulders above him and gets this win.
All right, so Jay Jardim, he's in. He says Columbus will take it as well. He had a great comment up here. I don't hate NYCFC, but them losing in the playoffs will make things feel a bit normal. Agreed, Jay. It is a common occurrence. Now, Rocky out in Portland says Porter's Crew are hard to bet against. Wonder why you say things like that, Rocky. But, this is going to be a good game for Columbus. I think they take it fairly easily. I think they'll be able to work around with Nagbe, Zelarayan. I think they'll be able to work through that high press pretty easily and should get the victory at home at MAPFRE Stadium. So
unless Florian Velo drops 2 or 3 goals, but yeah, I'm going Crew.
Yeah, exactly. So then on the 22nd, we have Sporting Kansas City against the San Jose Earthquakes, the 1 seed versus the 8 seed in this one. Sporting Kansas City at home at Children's Mercy Park. It's funny is all of these home teams minus the Revs so far that we've talked about are going to have fans in the stands. unless these rising COVID numbers ought to like change things pretty quickly. They're going to have fans in the stands, and that makes a big difference. You're not playing in an empty shell of a stadium, and there is that little bit of home field advantage because you can hear those fans. Even if there's only 5,000 in attendance, you can still hear them, and I love to see it. And Sporting Kansas City, they will have fans in attendance against the Quakes, who are going to be down a couple players. This one is simple to me. Sporting Kansas City is one of the best teams in the league. They win the Western Conference on points per game. Peter Vermees, hell of a coach. They've finally got offense now on this team. It's not just defense. Their defense is actually lacking a little bit. But the amount of offense with Alan Polito, with Gadi Kinda, with, a lot of these guys they've got up there. Johnny Russell, can't forget about him. This team is stacked, and as long as all things they stay healthy with those guys, and especially against the Quakes, down a couple players, my pick is simple. Sporting Kansas City easily takes this one in that first round matchup. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm with you on Sporting Kansas City, man. A team that has always kind of had a little piece of my MLS heart. Yeah. The Wiz, the Kansas City Wizards, and now Sporting Kansas City, Sporting KC. It's funny. I'm like, did Kansas City actually win the Western Conference this year? Like, it doesn't feel like it, right?
It didn't.
And then on the same aspect, I'm like, did San Jose actually make the playoffs this year? It didn't feel like that they were playing at that level, that they were good enough to make the playoffs, but yet somehow here they are. Whether Almeida's system worked, whether the Western Conference was so terrible, they were able to poach points in games where they could and end up there. That's kind of how I looked at these two teams. Like, wow. San Jose played a lot better than people thought, and so did Kansas City. So I'm still going Kansas City, and I'm glad you mentioned, Gadi Kinda, a real good find for them. They actually just exercised the purchase option, so they're going to have him for at least another year on their roster. For me with Kansas City, is their defense going to show up? It's been a question this year. We know their offense can score goals. They're going to get opportunities, especially against the San Jose team. Will the defense show up and make sure that San Jose doesn't make it a game? Is Wando going to find some space and net a couple in the first half and then put Kansas City on their back heels? And then as far as San Jose, for me, are they going to be the team that comes out and beats LAFC, or the team that loses to Vancouver? They've rallied for Almeida. They rallied for their coach every time that he got on the hot seat. But it's the playoffs, right? Maybe they feel like they did enough, or maybe there's not anything left in the tank. And we'll see with a couple of their starters out if they can actually pull off this upset. I don't think they can. I just don't think they've got the talent, and I don't think Almeida kind of knows the mentality of the playoffs. I'm giving it all to Sporting Kansas City. They're my strong pick to win this game.
All right, so right after that one, we've got, I believe it is Minnesota United against Colorado. This is going to be a good matchup. 4-5 in the Western Conference. Minnesota United is the 4 seed, Colorado the 5 seed. Minnesota United losing a bunch of players to international duty. Possibly, maybe they get back, maybe they don't. As well, they're playing in an empty stadium. So unlike those other teams that we just talked about at home, Minnesota hasn't had fans in the stands, and they kind of lose that home field advantage. So going up against the Colorado team, who's firing on all cylinders right now, 3 straight victories for them. I don't know. This one looks like this could be a possible another 5-4 upset here for me. I'm leaning Colorado. I'm picking Colorado. I think they get it done just based off of the form that they're in right now. And Minnesota's in good form as well. They have, I believe they're unbeaten in 5. I think they're like 3 wins and 2 draws in their last 5. So they're playing well too. But depending on at least just even if these guys do get back, the travel on those legs, the games they've been playing, that's going to affect them. So I'm going Colorado in this one. I think they get it done on the road in kind of a neutral setting because they're not going to have that Allianz Field type home field advantage. That's where I'm going with this one.
I'm still picking Minnesota. It's funny because the more I research this game, the more I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good about this pick. I don't feel so good about the Loons. You have Robin Lod. You had Jan Gregos, Finland and Slovakia. Kai Kamara was playing with Sierra Leone, so he's probably out. Roman Metanier playing for Madagascar. He's probably out. due to the COVID protocols and quarantines. They need offense. I don't know where they're going to find it, but they need it. I mean, it's time to step up.
Oh, Nick, you froze up on me there. There you go.
Hey, they need offense. Like they're going to need offense, at least 2 or 3 goals. There's not going to be a 1-0, 2-1 victory here. They're going to need probably 3 goals to solidify this win. They've been averaging 1.7 per game this season. So I don't know if they're going to find it, but I still have faith that Minnesota wins this game. They have 2 wins and a draw against Colorado this season. Looking at Colorado, they played the least amount of games as any team in MLS. They only played 18 games due to coronavirus protocols of suspending games, canceling games, whatever. I just don't think Colorado is quite ready for it, and I think Minnesota is at that level mentally and as well as the talent, the game that they're playing, their form, that they are going to take this game. I'm still leaning Minnesota, but I am not confident at all about it. That's for sure, Mike.
I don't know, man. I mean, that with that being your concern there, they're not quite game ready because they haven't played as many games. Well, I think that's a benefit to them that they have played less games as of late because their legs are going to be more rested than those other teams. If this was their first or second, maybe even third game back from that coronavirus break, I would say no, they're not there yet. But that was something with my picks and predictions. I remember seeing all this go, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not picking Colorado because they're not back yet. They haven't fit. They haven't gotten that mold back together yet, and now they have. So they went into Portland, got a big victory. Speaking of Portland, that's who we've got up next. So we differ on that pick. Nick's got Minnesota. I have Colorado. That's going to be a fun one. I think there's going to be some shit talking going on during that one between Nick and I. Next up, we've got
hey, real quick, Mike. Let me touch on Colorado. One other thing I found interesting in my research, I was looking at Robin Fraser to see like how much time has he had with this team? Can he get him ready? Whatever. He's only one of 2 Rapids coaches in Colorado Rapids history to actually have a record above 500. The other one being Gary Smith, who was 34 wins, 27 losses, and 33 draws. So, Robin Fraser, one of 2 coaches in Colorado history, and they've had a number of them to be above 500. I think one of their other coaches back in the 90s was 500. But yeah, that's my little coaching thing
all right.
for Colorado Rapids trivia there.
All right, I love Robin Fraser. Love that guy. Portland Timbers and FC Dallas at 9 o'clock Central on the 22nd. This one we will be live for. We will be doing a live stream reaction for this one as well. So make sure you jump on with us to talk Portland Timbers and FC Dallas. So this one, Portland at home. Nick, we keeping you up, man.
It's been a long day, buddy.
I don't want to hear it. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning working, so I don't want to hear it, buddy.
I'm sorry for those who are listening or not having the video. I just yawned quickly, and Mike definitely called me on it.
Well, it's the 4th time he's yawned, but he's kept his mouth shut the last 3 times, and I've seen it. And this time you thought a graphic was up, so you let it roll.
That was it. Yeah.
Anyways, Portland and FC Dallas. Here we are. This is going to be a hell of a matchup. I think Portland at home. No fans in the stands for this one. I like Portland in this. They were fighting for a top spot in the Western Conference all year long. They were with Seattle most of the time. They were right there back and forth with them. And then all of a sudden, Sporting Kansas City came in and snuck it out late. But Portland and FC Dallas, you don't know what you're going to get from them. To me, they're just too inconsistent. Portland has more consistency. That's why I'm going with Portland. And I'm sure Rocky will appreciate that pick. And we might actually have Rocky on our live stream reaction. I've been trying to talk him in here, but trying to talk him into it, but he won't give me a straight answer. But if you guys are Portland Timbers fans watching this, make sure you go check out Rocky's page. He is a huge Instagram page. Give it a follow at Talk and the Woods on Instagram. He does interviews and goes live with players every single home game, so I'm sure he'll be live before this one as well, and then he might be on our live. We'll see, but I got the Timbers in this one. Easy victory over Dallas. Maybe not easy, but I think they've got it. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I'm picking Portland as well, Mike. I just look back, I'm like, how does Portland keep doing it? Like, not just this season, but like the last like 2-3 seasons. How do they keep finishing top of the Western Conference, given the player personnel issues, the stadium rentals, like all this stuff that's going on that's like off the field things? They keep doing it. Savarese keeps changing formations. They keep getting points. They keep winning. Blanco, they're arguably their best player this season, MVP of the MLS's back tournament, goes down with a knee injury, out for the season. Portland still manages to score 46 goals, second most goals in the league behind LAFC, and only give up 23 this season. Like it's amazing what they've done. And I think they've done it through their depth and their experience, both players and coaches. I think that gives them a huge edge. There's no drop off in production. Anytime they make a substitution or an injury happens, I think Portland's got it. The only way Dallas wins this game is if their starting 11 plays their absolute best, and maybe if there's a clause that allows Reggie Cannon to come back for a night. That might be the only way that FC Dallas wins this game. But you got to remember, Dallas did end the season winning 3 of their 4 games, the last game being a loss. But they won the 3 before that. They may have found something that worked for them, but I don't think it's enough. Portland takes this one and make in easy fashion, I think.
All right, so we're on the same page there. Now for Seattle and LAFC, the last of the confirmed matchups, and we'll talk a little bit about Philly and TFC in a minute. Seattle and LAFC, we talked about at the beginning of this episode, probably the best matchup out of all of them as far as the two teams and the betting odds for who's going to win MLS Cup, which we'll talk about as well towards the end of the show. They've got LAFC up high with these odds with Seattle, probably all because of Carlos Vela. This Seattle team is you have a really hard time going against them. At least I do. They're always winning. They're always in the playoffs. They always seem to get it done in the playoffs. And I mean, good God, LAFC is a strong team, but the only thing I can think of is possibly with Ladero out that might hurt them because he runs that team. I mean, he's not quite the player he was when he came over in the beginning, but without him, I mean, he everything goes through him in that in that lineup. So I really had a hard time with this pick. But really what sent me over the edge is the experience of Seattle, the fact that they went to LAFC last year and beat this team when they were on their best season ever. I got to go with Seattle in this one. They're my pick over LAFC. I'm sorry, Carlos Vela and LAFC, you're not getting anywhere this year. The champs are going to keep rolling on.
So I love this matchup. Like I said, that Orlando, New York City is the best first round matchup in the Eastern Conference. This one is the best across the entire MLS schedule for the first round of playoffs. Seattle and LAFC. There's a rivalry there. These are two of the best teams over the last 3 seasons. I only say 3 because that's as long as LAFC's been around, despite them having their worst season of the 3 this year. Well, they missed so many players, right? So this is still going to be an exciting matchup. It's still going to be LAFC trying to get that playoff monkey off their back. They have never gotten to an MLS Cup Final in 2 tries, but still having the record that they did, the star power that they did, following in Atlanta's footsteps. Atlanta won trophies their first 2 great seasons. LAFC still is looking at that as a standard. They need to win a trophy. Will Bob Bradley's frustrations affect his team? That's something that I want to keep an eye on. I wish they could always have a camera on Bob Bradley because his facial expressions go perfectly with whatever he's yelling at the moment. And I wish we could see how that kind of affects his team's play. I mean, you can motivate him in the moment, but if he's constantly on these guys, he's always thought to be very cerebral and very, very, very tactical and very intelligent, but very much a motivator. If that turns to anger, he might lose any of that motivation that he's instilling in his team. So let's take a look at that. Also, like you said, Mike, Diego Rossi's out on COVID quarantine. He might not play this game, which is going to be huge. Their leading goal scorer, their young player of the year, as was just announced by MLS, which a lot of people say Brendan Aronson should have won that one. If you look at what he's done for Philly, as well as what the numbers were on the voting, A lot of people were saying Brendan Aronson should have got that one. But then again, they still got Carlos Vela. They could still do it. I'm picking Seattle.
All right, there you go. And we'll be live for this one because it is a great matchup. It's going to be late, but we're going to do it. Seattle Sounders, LAFC, live stream reaction. There are 3 lives coming up for you guys in the first round of the playoffs, and then probably a lot more to come after that because these lives are so much fun. And it's the playoffs, so it's time to capitalize and time to enjoy the soccer. So we agree. Both of us say Seattle will win. Now let's talk shortly just about the two teams that we don't have confirmed matchups with. Obviously, based on our picks, we both agree New England and Nashville get through. That would set up New England against Philly and then Nashville against Toronto. Philadelphia, there is only one concern I have with that team, and that is how they celebrated the Supporters' Shield. I know it's a big deal. It's the first trophy in their history. Hey, Jose Marazon says Seattle Sounders, baby. Thanks for jumping on with us, Jose. I don't know. There's something about a team that celebrates a trophy and then has to go back out a week and a half later and start a brand new season technically, because this is the second season. New England is 0-0. Philadelphia is 0-0. Montreal, Inter Miami, whoever it is that they play is 0-0. If they're too caught up in that, this could catch them and hurt them. I don't think it will. I have Philly moving on. I think they'll be fine. They have too much talent, but it is a possibility, and that is my only hesitation with Philadelphia. Best season they've ever had. They finally get their hands on some silverware. I think they'll be fine, but I'm slightly concerned.
It's with good reason, Mike. No team who's won the Supporters' Shield has, in at least recently, I think, has gone on and won
since 2017.
Yeah, there you go. So it's really hard to do to be the best team in the regular season and then also win the playoffs. It's a tough feat. Only I think a handful of teams have done it in the 25 years of MLS here. But you're right, Mike. Philly's too talented. They're too good. I think that Philly was focused on the cup. The fact that they won the Supporters' Shield is wonderful. They had an excellent season, but they're not out to win the regular season. I think from the start, Philly was out to win the cup. They're focused on the cup. So I'm not slighting them as much as you are based on kind of the mentality approach. I mean, yes, celebrating and then turning around and going back to work the next day is tough to do. I'll give you that. But I'm looking more at, like, how do you stop this Philly team, right? Like, this Philly team has solid defense and goalkeeping. They have a wonderful midfield play. They've got guys who can shoot the ball from 25 yards out, as well as, ticky-tack pass all the way in the offensive third. So to me, you got to keep the game close. You got to play physical, and you got to control possession. I mean, pretty much just play a perfect game, right? That's how you beat Philly. I don't think New England could do that. And honestly, I don't think Montreal could do that either. So even though I don't think Philly wins the cup this year, I don't see them laying an egg this first game in their playoffs. But now let's talk about a little TFC. Unless
they've got the goalkeeper of the year and Andre Blake. Some who think that the young player of the year should have been Brendan Aronson. Ryan Anderson thinks that Io Akinola should have won it, and that's his hashtag hot take. I agree that he had a great season. However, not going to take it from Diego Rossi. Or Brendan Aronson is going to move to Salzburg on a huge transfer fee. I love Io, but I mean, as far as a difference maker in a game, I'll take Io any day of the week over Brendan Aronson. But as far as the league's going, not happening. Now you say, well, how do you beat Philly, right? Well, ask Portland, ask Dallas, two teams that are playing each other in the first round. Ask Columbus, they've done it. There are ways to beat this team. Ask TFC, they came back and beat them. Yep. This team is not perfect by any means. Their striking core up top is not that great. Kasper Shabilko has come back down to earth this season from where he was last year. He had a great season last year, and then Sergio Santos has overperformed because think he's not that good, but he's done well this year to kind of offset that Casper Przybyłko, Shibilko, however.
Shibilko.
Alejandro Bedoya is like 39,000 years old, and whatever. Ilsinho looks like he needs a cane to keep walking until he puts on a little dancing moves there with the ball in the box. But I'm not as high as
Ilsinho. There's always Ilsinho.
You gotta love Ilsinho, man. But no, anyways, that's my thoughts on them. Now let's get into TFC. I'm not that high on TFC this year. I think there's a couple things hurting them. One is literally the injuries are hurting them. They've got some serious injuries going on. Oso came back. He doesn't look good. You've got Marky Delgado out. You've got Josie Altidore still. He's coming back, but I mean, he hasn't done anything this season other than score, I think, 1, maybe 2 goals.
His biggest contribution to the MLS this year was being linked to buying RSL. Like, I think that was truly the biggest headline of his.
It was. Michael Bradley is a shell of his former self. The injuries got to him. He's not that good anymore. He hasn't been now for a couple seasons. Still a good leader, but not a great player anymore. This team is limping into the playoffs with these injuries. And I hate to say it, but they know how to grind it out, scrap it out to win these games. Pablo Piatti is out. He has been a big difference maker for TFC. With him in the lineup, they can win these games. With him out of the lineup, it's clear that they can't. They need him in the game. They need that extra attack for Pozuelo, who should be MLS MVP. I don't know if that's getting announced soon or when that's going to get announced. I think he should be MVP. He is the most valuable player to his team this season in MLS, in my opinion. But I don't think they're going anywhere in this playoffs. They're in Connecticut. Another thing too is the human aspect of this. That's part of it. I mean, and from following TFC the way that I do and seeing all the tweets and seeing all the stuff, this team's hurting, man, from a human aspect. They're stuck in Connecticut. They are away from their families. They've been away from their families all year long, except for like a 6-week or 4-week stretch when they were playing Montreal and Vancouver. They were gone for MLS's back. Then they came back. They were back for a couple weeks, and now they've been gone in Connecticut. And I just don't see this team as hungry as they were. So I don't see them moving on very far. I do think they'll get past the Nashville. I think they can get that done because it's an expansion team. They don't have the experience. TFC has the experience. They'll technically be at home in Hartford. Whether they're going to open it up for fans or not, I don't know. They opened it up for fans against Inter Miami, the last regular season game. Things have changed since then. Now, more COVID cases are spiking up because it's getting colder outside. Imagine that. And nobody gets the flu anymore. That's that. Maybe they don't put fans in the stands. I don't know, but this team's not going anywhere because they just want to get home. Ramon Poblano is joined us. Hey, guys, let's go black and gold. What are the chances really for LAFC? We'll talk about that a little bit when we discuss the odds. But both of us have Seattle knocking them out in the first round based off of their injuries there. But brother BKL Contreras as well. I don't know when I saw Toronto FC when they win, but I really don't think so. They will be between injury and maybe New England will take it. So you've got New England possibly going there. I don't see TFC going anywhere past maybe the first round. But what do you think?
For TFC, I think they win the game against the play-in team. One of the questions I put in the notes was who would Toronto rather play? Miami, Nashville, New England, Montreal? Which one of those play-in teams would they rather see? Honestly, to me, I don't think it matters. I think you're right. Toronto is good enough, experienced enough, and at this point in the season, they know how to grind out a 1-0 victory over some of these teams who just aren't quite there yet. So I do think Toronto wins their first game, but I don't see them going very far in this playoffs, Mike. And if you want, I can get into my bracket a little bit if you're ready to move on to that. Yeah. So sticking with the Eastern Conference here in the Toronto conversation, I've got them winning their first game against that play-in team, but I'm high on Columbus right now. I think they beat the Red Bulls. I think they beat TFC and match up with New York City in the Eastern Conference Finals. Man, I really want to watch NYCFC this playoffs. The games against Orlando, Philly, and Columbus, I think those are going to be some of the best games. We could be really seeing some good MLS history here. And then I have them in the Cup Final matching up against Seattle. I have said it from the preseason. I have said it throughout the year. I got Seattle as the best team in the West. They've got the experience. And as much as MLS prides itself on parity, I think you're going to have Seattle winning a fourth cup in 5 years. So that is, or a third cup in 5 years with another appearance, whatever the numbers are for that Northwest team. But yeah, I'm excited to see Portland, Seattle match up in the second round, and I do have Kansas City moving on to the conference finals against Seattle. Those are, to me, the two strongest teams. You throw Portland in that mix, absolutely. And yeah, Roman Poblano, you were saying, what are the chances for LAFC? Personally, I don't think they've got very, very high chances. We talked a little bit about it, the odds in the early part of the episode. 538, the stats website had LAFC coming in, what was it, around 6th, I think? No, they've got them 5th in their percentage at 8% winning it. So they're not very high on anyone. The Union have a 25% chance to win based on their odds, and they're the highest team. So the best team in the league, still only 1-4. So maybe that bodes well for some of these lower seeded teams, but
it's a one game play. It's a one game
tried and true, right?
Of course it does. When you're playing only one game, it's the way MLS is built. A Nashville could beat Philly on any given night. Okay, so that's why these odds are as low as they are. So the two legs changes things for sure. T-Mac, he's on the same page as me with TFC just being done for the season as well. Brother BKL Contreras put New York City over the Timbers in the MLS Challenge Cup. I'm assuming you're talking about the bracket challenge. Brother BKL Contreras, I hope you have joined our league, SOP Soccer, to get in on our chance at some swag and be the champion. Now, look, and it's this, Ryan Anderson says 538, a joke. Rocky does it all, do the opposite of what 538 says. Yeah, I agree with both you gentlemen.
They're okay in sports. We're not here talking about their political predictions. We're talking sports.
Right? So we'll take a break before we head to my picks here to finish out the show. Let's talk a little bit about the MLS Cup winning odds. So here is the breakdown from of the odds as of yesterday. You've got the favorite is going to be Seattle at plus 500. Philadelphia comes in right behind them at plus 600. You've got LAFC at plus 550. So actually, they have LAFC over Seattle, or over Philly. So they're saying right now in Vegas, well, as of last night in Vegas, that LAFC, if they get past Seattle in the first round, has a better chance to win the cup than Philly does, the Supporters Shield champions. Obviously, you've got your play-in teams way down the list: Inter Miami, Nashville, the expansion sides at the bottom, Montreal as well at the bottom, New York Red Bulls at the bottom, but TFC at plus 700, New York City at a plus 1,000. A lot of interesting odds here. A good chance to win some money. Something that I wouldn't mind putting some money on is, looking at Portland at plus 1,000. That is 10-1 odds. So if you put $100 down on the Timbers to win the cup, you're looking at 1,000. Not a bad bet at all there. Same thing with New York City. This is a team that's been on a roll. They could stay on a roll, and not bad odds. So for all of the bettors out there who watch my picks and predictions, here are your odds for that. I might have to put some money down on a team to win the cup, maybe two of them. Who knows? But my picks now,
a little bit,
right? Exactly. So my picks. Here's my bracket in our bracket challenge. I've got SKC winning this whole thing. I've got Sporting Kansas City going on against Colorado and beating Colorado to match up with the Portland Timbers, who will upset the Seattle Sounders. And Sporting Kansas City moves into the championship. And in the Eastern Conference, I see New York City getting past Philly, just like you do, Nick. Columbus Crew getting past Toronto. I think Toronto will win their play-in game and then just lose to Columbus. And it'll set up a familiar Columbus-New York City playoff match, which usually bodes well for Columbus. I've got them going to the championship against Sporting Kansas City, and based off of goal differential, just by itself, it would be Sporting Kansas City at home, and that's what gives them the edge for me to win the cup. I have picked Sporting Kansas City multiple times since we started this podcast to win it all. And this is the year they get it done. All right. So anybody who is wanting to join our bracket challenge league, at SOP Soccer is the title of the league. There is a link down in the description on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, we'll be sending out an invite to everybody on Twitter, I'm sure, over the next day or two. And get your chance at winning some limited edition, one-time only, first place limited edition swag. That'd be pretty cool. Walk around town, be like, hey, I'm this cool. I got all my picks right, and I'm that good. Another thing, we will throw out an additional $100 Visa gift card for anybody who picks a perfect bracket and gets the total goals correct in the bracket challenge for the MLS Cup Final. So if you pick a perfect bracket and you get the goals correct in the final, extra $100 to you, and I'm sure you'd win a hoodie or a t-shirt, whatever you want as far as swag, because I'm sure that will be the case. But anyways, this is pretty much wraps it up for us on our MLS Cup Playoff Preview Edition. We will be with you in just about 5 to 10 minutes for our regular podcast episode talking lots of U.S. men's national team. So stick around. If you're watching, you actually have to go to another video because this one's going to end. But we'll see you guys real soon. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our action when we go live to bring you our regular episodes, our picks and predictions, our special episodes like this one right now, as well as our live stream reactions, which we're going to be doing plenty of those in the playoffs. Talk to you guys in a few minutes with lots of US MNT action.